Hi friends, it's Amy. Welcome to my bookish life. Today it's time to go through the 24 books that I read in December. So let's get to it. As I said, I read 24 books in the month of December. I just had a wonderful reading month. So many holidays themed books, so comfy, so cozy. It was wonderful. I just loved it. 12 of the books that I read were for adult audience, 4 for a young adult audience, and 8 for a middle grade audience. 13 I read physically, 4 I read digitally, and 11 I read in audiobook format. I read a total of 6,312 pages, 22 fiction books, and 2 nonfiction books, with an average of 204 pages per day, 263 pages per book, and an average rating of 4.4 stars. So good. Now, 3 of the books that I'm going to talk about are actually read-alouds that I did with my class, and the first one happens to be one of them. I finished A Long Walk to Water by Linda Sue Park with my 5th and 6th graders right away in December. This book is beautiful. We have a dual timeline in southern Sudan. Salva is in 1985. He's in school one day and suddenly his village is attacked by soldiers and he runs out to the bush to escape being forced into being a soldier. And then he needs to survive out in the wilderness in the bush until he can get to a refugee camp. That is interwoven with a timeline, with a story that takes place in 2008. And it's just beautiful for my students to read and to hear about a young girl in the 2008 timeline that needed to walk for 4 hours to get to water every single day and then walk back every single day for her family was mind-blowing. And then to realize 2008 was not that long ago, it just opened their eyes to a lot of things. It also opened my eyes to a lot of things. It really was just a really great read. The next book that I finished, I listened to Top Elf by Caleb Zane Huett. This book was adorable. Santa Claus is all ready to give the reins to the new Santa Claus, and he decides, instead of passing it down his family, he is going to have a contest to see who gets to be the next Santa Claus. Ollie and Celia are the main elves who are competing in the competition. It's so fun. The next book that I finished was Stars Above by Marissa Meyer. I read this for the Lunar Long. It is 4.5 in the series. It's really just a bunch of short stories. It was so nice to be in this world again and to read these stories. They're so short and quick. It just really almost just made me want to read more, but I just loved it. So good. It was definitely something that I wanted to have in my life in December. And it was a reread for me, but comfort and joy, right? The next book that I finished was The Afterlife of Holly Chase by Cynthia Hand. This book was so fun. It's kind of a sequel, continuation, retelling of A Christmas Carol. Holly Chase is Scrooge, and she fails miserably in changing her ways when the ghosts visit her, and she dies. For the past 5 years, she has been the ghost of Christmas pass. She's a little cringy at the beginning, but she really is a round character. There's so much depth and imagination in this story. It's really fun. It's a great YA holiday story. The next book that I finished in audio, and it's another holiday, another YA holiday, Dash and Lily's Book of Dares by Rachel Cohn and David Levithan. This is a really fun story. I read it because I really enjoyed the Netflix movie, or TV series. Sorry, the Netflix TV series last year when I read it or when I watched it, and I decided I wanted to read the book. It's just a lot of fun. Great YA fun. The next book that I read was Amelia Earhart. It's her story. This book was very kindly sent to me by Sunbird Books after I went to the School Library Journal's Day of Dialogue virtual event. This is a graphic novel biography of Amelia Earhart, and the illustrations in the book are so bright and cheerful and colorful. It's really a great way to learn something about a person in history. That is by Kim Moldofsky and illustrated by Alan Brown. The next book that I finished was How to Ruin the Holidays by Becky Monson. This was so fun. This is a holiday romance. I found it in Kindle Unlimited. I love Becky Monson. She is a wonderful author, and I love the characters that she creates. It really makes fun of holiday movies, like Hallmark holiday movies, totally makes fun of them. But of course, it's still a romance, and it's just so much fun. Mara and Noel are so cute. They make a great couple. The next book that I finished was The Keeper of Lost Things by Ruth Hogan. This book I read for the book club through my library. I started listening to it on audiobook, and then I was reading it because I had the physical copy. And then I literally was sitting and reading as I was listening to it because I love the narrator, but I also just needed to read it. It was so propulsive and so engaging. I just loved it. There's a dual timeline here that comes together in the craziest way. And I just love it. Anthony Perdue is the keeper of lost things. When he sees things that he has lost, he picks them up. And then he writes the story of those lost things. His hope is to one day find the owners of all these lost things. Now, these are things like buttons and hair ribbons, the smallest, insignificant seeming things. He finds them and he makes a home for them. It is beautiful. When he dies, he leaves his mansion home to his housekeeper, and she then takes up the task of finding homes for all of his lost things. It's so beautiful. So, so beautiful. If you've not read The Keeper of Lost Things, read it. The next book that I read, I listened to the Christmas Pawdcast. This is an Audible original holiday romance, and it's very, very short, but very, very cute. It's by Emily March, and it has to do with a Grinch, a stranded woman with a pregnant foster dog. the formula writes itself. I don't. It's really cute, very short, and I just really enjoyed it. The next book that I finished was Stepping Stones by Lucy Knisley. Lucy Knisley. This book is loosely based on Lucy's life. We have a Jen who is forced to move from the city to the country because her mom wants to live with her boyfriend on this small peapod farm. And Jen does not know how to deal with this at first. And she slowly starts to become more okay with this new situation. And the farmers market world. I really enjoyed this book, but I really hated the boyfriend or stepdad figure. He was terrible. He was an insufferable person. I just did not like him at all. The illustrations were beautiful. The friendship between the stepdad's daughters and Jen is really cute and wonderful. And I loved all of that, but man, oh man, that guy just drove me nuts. The next book that I finished was Trespassers by Breena Bard. This book was really fun. This is another graphic novel, another middle grade. I actually got a signed copy of this from my local independent bookstore, and it's actually set in Wisconsin. Okay, so we have Gabby, who goes with her family from the city, from their Green Bay area home to the North Woods, to this cabin that they rent every year. And when they're there, she realizes that there's this mysterious house across the lake, and it's a mansion. It's beautiful, and there's something weird about it, and something mysterious has happened there. There's a new family in the cabin next door that Gabby becomes friends with. The other kids there. Gabby and her brother become friends with the other kids there, and chaos begins to ensue. I really enjoyed how engaging this book was. It was really fun, and it likened back to old noir movies, mystery movies. I really, really enjoyed that. One thing that I didn't love about it is that it kind of sent the message that doing illegal things is fine. And the parents were completely clueless about what was happening. Like, not even a little bit not clueless. Like, they were completely clueless. They weren't barely in the book. I mean, besides the fact that they made Gabby make friends with Paige, the new girl, it was almost like the Snoopy cartoons where the adults speak and it says, blah, blah, blah. That's basically what it was. It was kind of crazy. But it was still really fun. Not all the adults were clueless, just the parents. So that, I did like it, but it would definitely be something that you would want to talk to your child about if they were reading it, because obviously they need to know that they can't do illegal things. The next book that I finished was Winter House by Ben Guterson. I've been wanting to read this and thinking about reading this for the longest time, and I am so glad that I have finally read it. This centers around a young girl named Elizabeth whose terrible aunt and uncle sent her off to Winter House while they're on vacation over Christmas. Terrible way to have to realize just how much your aunt and uncle hate you, that they're just going to send you off. Luckily, Winter House is awesome. She absolutely loves Winter House. She makes a new friend. She finds all kinds of puzzles that she needs to work her way through. It's so fun. Really, really fun. The next book that I read is Enjoy the View by Sarah Morgenthaler. And this book actually takes place in the summer, but it takes place in Alaska, so it was a little bit cold. So it felt holiday-ish. It wasn't. But this is the third book in the Moose Springs, Alaska series. I love this series. It's so cute. This is the love story for Easton, who is one of my favorite characters from the first two books. He's just this big hunk of a sweetheart man. I just love him. And there's, a smitten marmot, and that's really fun. The danger scenes are pretty unrealistic, but also the amount of research that the author had to have put into like mountain climbing is actually really amazing. So mostly loved, found some of the scenes cheesy, but really enjoyed Enjoy the View by Sarah Morgenthaler. The next book was another read aloud that I finished with my 7th and 8th graders, and that was Alone by Megan E. Freeman. This I just read a couple of months ago. I don't want to talk a whole lot about it because I just read it a couple months ago, but it was gifted to me from one of my wonderful subscribers, Abigail, and I was so excited to be able to share this with my students. And it was nice that because of the more mature content, I was able to talk through it with them, and we had some really great discussions about how we would react to certain things in what was happening and different things like that. It was really a lot of fun. A lot of them really enjoyed it. The ending lost some of them. And I get it. I loved it. Still 5 stars, but I get the problem that they had with the ending. The next book that I finished was another read aloud. This was with my 5th and 6th graders, and it was the best Christmas pageant ever, starring the wonderful Herdmans. This is a book that I have a special connection to because when I was in 4th grade, I actually was in the play The Best Christmas Pageant Ever at my school. It was so awesome. I was an angel choir member, and I had 2 lines, and I could still tell them to you. Anyway, I just love this book. I love sharing it with my students. It's totally at their reading level. I wouldn't necessarily need to be reading it to them. However, there are a lot of great talking points in this book. It's just a good story. So that is The Best Christmas Pageant Ever by Barbara Robinson. The next book that I finished was The Christmas Swap by Melody Carlson. This is a holiday romance that I found on Hoopla, and it was probably one of my least favorite books of the month. I didn't hate it. It didn't deliver the story that I wanted. I don't love the hidden identity trope. And here, Emma is traveling with this family for the holidays because she doesn't really have a family. So she spends Christmas with her friend's family. Her friend's family are really terrible people. I don't understand why she wants to stay and be around her friends. And it's addressed why she wants to be with these cruel people, but it's never actually a satisfying reason for me. And Tyler was going to go with his family. They were swapping. That's where the swap comes in. I'm not explaining this very well, but that's where the swap comes in. And so Emma and this family are staying at Tyler's house. Tyler was supposed to go with his family to stay at the other family's house, and he stays back and he meets Emma and doesn't tell her who he is. It feels so insane, and it's kind of cute, but it's not the best holiday story I ever have read. I wrote down the cheese level is off the charts. So there you go. The next book that I finished was Game Changers by Donalyn Miller and Colby Sharp. I love this book. This is nonfiction. It is for professional development for reading teachers. It talks about book access for all students. And I just loved it. They interwove different perspectives of many wonderful reading professionals, and it just was a great book to read and get me into that reading spirit. It was the book in my mid-year wrap-up that I was most excited to read sometime before the end of 2021, and took me to the end of the month, but I did it. The next book that I finished was A Curse So Dark and Lonely by Bridget Kemmerer. This is a Beauty and the Beast retelling. It is a YA. There's this divide between the real world and this fantasy world of Emberfall. Wren is like the prince of Emberfall. Harper is a down on her luck. Her family is down on their luck. Girl from New York City, and she tries to stop what she thinks is a kidnapping and ends up in Emberfall, and meeting Wren, who needs to fall in love in order to break a curse that is on him. I really loved this book. Don't get me wrong, but I did have a hard time believing that Harper would fall for Wren, which is the end game, where I totally got it in Beauty and the Beast. And, but it just was very difficult for me to see Wren and Harper as a couple, but I really liked it. It was one of my favorite YAs of the year, and it was there was beautiful description and just great depth of character, and it was a beautiful story. The next book that I finished was Well Met by Jen DeLuca. This book is so fun. Well Met takes place at a Renaissance fair. I love that setting. How cool. Emily is kind of roped into volunteering for the Renaissance fair because her niece wants to be involved in the Renaissance fair, and she needs an adult to volunteer with her. This is a rule that's pretty much ignored, but Emily doesn't know that. So Emily becomes a tavern wench for the summer. Throughout the summer, she makes a lot of friends, learns a lot of things, and happens to fall in love. I like Simon a lot. This is a little bit of an enemies to lover trope. Emily really dislikes Simon at the beginning, which I kind of felt was a little unfounded, but at the same time I did kind of get, I don't know. But it's just a really cute love story. It's really great characters. I really liked it. And you'll find out how I feel about the rest of the series in my next month's wrap up. So there you go. The next book that I finished was The Deal of a Lifetime by Fred McBachman. This is another one of his novellas. It is super short, 65 pages, about a man who is thinking about the difference between life and death and how he can make the world better. And it's really a beautiful story. I did enjoy it. It has a Christmas holiday setting, And actually, I read it on Christmas Eve, and it takes place on Christmas Eve. So it was kind of perfect. The next book that I finished was Let It Snow by Nancy Thayer. This book was really fun. It follows Christina, who owns a toy store in Nantucket. And her landlord is very Scrooge-ish and wants to raise her rent. If he raises her rent, she will not be able to stay in her current location. Her toy shop will have to close. So she needs to figure out how to keep her toy store open. It's really fun. I really liked it. The characters are great. The romance is beautiful. It felt a little bit rushed. That was really my only negative feeling with it, but it was really good. The next book I finished was The 12 Days of Christmas by Debbie Macomber. This book I listened to, and I love Debbie Macomber. I love her holiday stories. Top notch. This one was not my favorite of hers, but I still really liked it. We have Julia, who loves Christmas. Her neighbor Cain is grumpy and all bah humbuggy about everything. She decides to kill him with kindness. And for 12 days, she's going to do everything she can think of to be nice to him. And she's going to record it in a blog. It's really fun. The characters are great. And it has a little bit of a hidden identity piece to it, but not as much as the other one that I read. So it was a really nice, fun Christmas romance, and I recommend it. The next book I finished was Lights, Camera, Holiday by Rachel Paige Campbell. It might be pronounced Rochelle Paige Campbell. I'm not 100% sure. This book is set in Wisconsin in the town of New Hope. It's an ARC that I got from Hidden Gems. And when I clicked to be a reader, I didn't realize it was the third in a series. And it really took away from the experience for me that I hadn't read the first two books. Because anytime anything was explained, I kept on thinking, ugh, I would know more if I had read the first two books. So that part for me was put a damper on my reading experience of the story. I wish that I had had the experience with the first and second book, especially since this third book is actually a Hollywood actress actually making a movie of the events of the first book. So it kind of loses a little bit in translation that I didn't actually read the first book. So that put a damper on it. The other thing that really bugged me was the nostril flaring. Every time I turned around, there was a character flaring her nostrils because she was mad. Why? I don't know. So anyway, it was a really cute story. I really liked it, but I would definitely suggest if you're interested in a cute holiday series that takes place in Wisconsin, I would start with the first one, which is called Holiday Inc. It does sound really good from what I read in the third book. I might someday go back and look at it. And then the last book that I finished in the month of December is The Enemy Unokie by Catherine Bruns. This is a cozy mystery. It was an ARC that I took way too long to get to, and I loved it. This is the third book in the Italian Chef mysteries. We have Tessa, who owns a new Italian restaurant. There's a new business owner who's kind of making life miserable for all the other business owners. And then that business owner turns up dead. So, in order to clear the name of basically everybody that she loves and all of her friends who own businesses in the town, she works to try and solve the mystery of who committed this murder. It is a really fun mystery. It was really intriguing. There were so many suspects and so many different possibilities, and I really loved how it came together in the end. Absolutely 100% recommend The Enemy Unokie by Catherine Bruns. That is it. Those are the 24 books that I read in the month of December. Have you read any of these books? What did you think? Did you hear anything you like that you might be putting on your TBR sometime soon? Chat with me down in the comments. I would love it if you would give this video a like. I would really appreciate it if you subscribed to my channel. And I really hope that you are finding something great to read in this new year. Until next time, happy reading. Bye.